watching how we respond to a challenging situation. For some, it's one-time chance encounter with a guide. For others, it's more formal for mentorship. So we all have our mentors in our lives. I hope you will share your experience today. We have 3 parts of the meeting: prepared speeches, table topics, and evaluation. For prepared speeches, we have 2 wonderful speakers, Elaine and Carol. And the table topics, I hope Christian will show up. He's our table topics master, and I asked Chris Gold to be our backup table topics master. And general evaluator Patricia O'Reilly, she will be leading evaluation portion. So now let's start with our meeting, and I have a team of helpers: Timer, Graham, Kens. Please introduce your role. Thank you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My role as timer will be to indicate to you how you can know what's happening with times. I have, as you can see behind me, some pretty green, yellow, and red screens. When you reach the minimum time for your assignment, you'll see the green. When you reach the midpoint of your timing, you will see the yellow. And when you reach the red, that means that your time has expired. Please shut up, because otherwise you will start seeing red, yellow, red, yellow, red, yellow, and that gets really distracting. But the point of that is to distract you and let you know that you have reached your maximum time. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Graham. Our counter for today is Roxanne Hossein. Please welcome her.
Well, hello, fellow Toastmasters and guests. The purpose of the counter is to note words and sounds that are used as a crutch or pause fillers by anyone who speaks. During the meeting, I will listen for overused words, including and, well, but, so, and you know. I'll also listen for filler words, including and I'll also note when a speaker repeats a word or phrase, such as I, or this means, this means. At the end of the meeting, I'll report on the number of times that each speaker used these expressions. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Roxanne. Our grammarian for today is Tiger McKenzie. Please introduce your own. Tiger, thank you.
Thank you, Asil. The word of the day today, we're going to keep this very simple, is mentor. Please use that in your speeches and or your evaluations. And one of my mentors is the Toastmaster of the day, the lovely Asil. And thank you for everything you've done for me, Asil. I am going to be looking for egregious uses of the language, which I'm sure there will not be many. I'm also going to be looking for exceptional uses of language, which I'm sure there will be plenty. But I will keep this short because I don't want to see the red, yellow from Graham. So I will pass it back to my Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tiger. Our watcher is Antoinette Trim. Please help me to welcome her.
Good evening, my fellow Toastmasters. A watcher is someone who observes things regularly and attentively. So I, being the watcher tonight, I will be observing all the professional virtual backgrounds and other type of background as well. And I will provide a report when called to do so. Back to you, Asil.
Thank you, Antoinette. Our chat monitor is Jim Barber. Please, Jim, introduce your role. Thank you.
With pleasure, Madam Toastmaster. I'm the chat monitor this evening, and as the chat monitor, I will be, get ready for this, monitoring the chat. I will bring value to the meeting in two different ways. One, during the meeting itself, I'll be looking at the chat, and if there's anything that goes by that our Toastmaster of the day, Asil, needs to know about, I will alert her. This saves her having to constantly watch what's going on in the chat. Also, at the end of the meeting, I will tell the general membership if there's been anything posted in the chat that they should make a note of, that sort of thing. And that's basically it, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Jim. Our vote counter is Birgit Starmans. Please help me welcome her. Thank you.
Hello. To quote the movie Truman, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you are. So my role today is to be the vote counter for the best speech and best table topics and best evaluator. As usual, please go ahead and just cast your vote and send me a private message, and I will let everyone know at the end of the meeting. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Birgit. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to thank everyone for joining this meeting, and let's just enjoy. Our first part is prepared speeches. Our first speaker is Elaine Nieberding. She is working on her Dynamic Leadership Level 5, demonstrating expertise. Reflect on your path. 2 years ago, our VPM Elaine Nieberding joined Online Presenters, never having been a Toastmaster, ready to share enthusiasm and skills. She joined hosting live stream video events and leading health and wellness programs. Today, she will reflect on completing the dynamic leadership pathway, daring not to dial down her energy or enthusiasm for being in the fine company of online presenters for this journey. Here's Elaine Nieberding with a laugh, a smile, and song. With a laugh and a smile and song, Elaine Nieberding.
Greeting my fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, online presenters. You have become so near and dear to my heart. So 2 years ago, when I joined this club, I was thrilled to be in a club, connecting with people in video space. And the story that I told in my speech entitled, Say a Name, Sing a Name, brought me back to telling this story when I was a little girl. The first club that I was in was the Mickey Mouse Club. And there I learned the Mickey Mouse Club theme that then later in my life, when I was working in the hospital, I would use that theme song to sing my name, to spell the letters out in Nieberding. And I bring that back up because unapologetically, I know it's not a crime to start a path with a laugh and a smile and a song. Is it a crime to start each day with a laugh and a smile and a song? Is it a crime to end each day or a path with a laugh and a smile and a song? No, it's not. I can only be myself. When this year started, my inner nudgings and knowings were saying, Elaine, you have to sing more. You have to allow that to come out. And so I am. And here in this club, I just want to say, I started that speech about my name because just like in going to the bar Cheers, don't you want to be in a place where everybody knows your name? You do. It's a place of caring. My reflections on looking back at all of my speeches and projects over the last 2 years would not have been the same without the context of experiencing it in this club, where there's a lot of caring, there's a lot of camaraderie, there is celebrating, and there is creativity. And I'm so happy about that. So for all of you who are guests here and all of you who are still members, you have helped me through this journey. Interestingly, when I started out Pathways 2 years ago, Pathways was just rolling out. There were months when I was starting Pathways, and some of the people here in our club and Toastmasters around the world were still only working on traditional and legacy projects. So in one sense, I was getting a leg up on Pathways. And so as I went along, as I came to explore Pathways, I found I could help my club members. Wasn't that a great thing, as they were just beginning to explore paths? Now, what have I learned in my 2 years and 15 speeches? Well, I've learned things both about leadership. I've learned things about presentation. I would say that I very confidently say that I'm a dynamic leader and a dynamic presenter. I take risks like everybody else. I flub sometimes, but I'm so grateful for the safe space that Online Presenters is to do this and to share this. Now, there were 2 leadership projects, essentially, that I have found myself involved in over these 2 years. One was a 50th anniversary, a 50th high school reunion planning for a grand event that actually happened in August of last year. Because I volunteered to host the meetings on Zoom, I became the de facto leader. Some of you have heard about that before. And so, you know, I was able to come to learn through dynamic leadership that indeed I'm a pretty affable leader. If I need to be authoritative and like either make a decision by myself because nobody's around, or just make directives about what I think needs to be done, I was able to do that in my reunion planning committee. And even I found I have been able to do that with the way I've taken on my vice president of membership role. That's what the second picture relates to right here, this community. It was after 1 year of being in Online Presenters, I was nominated to be vice president of membership.
6 minutes.
And it has been a great place where, because of my own values, I really wanted to make everybody feel welcome and well cared for, and indeed let people know what a fun place this is to be. Now, when it comes to me reflecting on presentations that I've done and presentation modes, I've come to learn or reflect. I love using backgrounds. I thank Asil and all the others in this club who have helped nudge me, or inspire me rather, to do much more with backgrounds, some of which are just pictorial, some of which have words and are educational. I've come to understand that I like doing educational and inspirational speeches and talks a lot more than I really like doing storytelling talks. And PowerPoint, you can have it. Because I've gotten a lot of feedback that my presence is engaging, well, I want you all to take in my good vibe. I hope some of my positive energy will rub off. And maybe from time to time, you will be inspired, you will agree with something I've suggested, or you will take action. There were times where I did speeches that were really aimed at helping the club. I did one where I did a screen share to help people learn more about the back end of Online Presenters' website. People found that helpful. I also, and think it worked out well, before we had our guest speaker in February, I did a speech where I encouraged people to help PR the event for Akeem Nowak, whose special workshop in February was about gestures for connection. You know, when you sign that pledge to become a Toastmaster, it says invite guests, help bring in new members, and participate in the PR effort. I think that one worked. Anyway, I've enjoyed the inspiration from others while doing this pathway. One of the most challenging projects that I did was holding a 25-minute panel discussion. And it was a rich discussion about what's important when you want to onboard new members. And a lot of rich, fertile insights came out of that then helped me move ahead and think more deeply about how I wanted to serve as an effective vice president of membership. And I thank those who participated with me on that. Now, how do I want to improve? I've learned, when I look back at some of the evaluations that I've been given as I've gone along this path, this first year, I say, and so, a lot. I say now, a lot. And maybe I'll work on eliminating some of those clutch words. But basically, I like myself pretty much. Just in the same way where people say, look, if your audio is bad when you're doing a presentation, you won't cut it. But you know what? If my energy's good and I have a couple clutch words, I'm probably still okay. I'm probably still okay. What I do need to continue working on is rocking. I don't really know if I've been rocking today or not, but I hope I can improve that. What I do want to continue doing is up-level, bringing my laughter, my smiling, and my singing into my next pathway, which is going to be visionary leadership.
11 minutes.
But nonetheless, I want to share with you a remembrance of what must have been my most fun engagement with online presenters during my dynamic leadership pathway. I was doing a speech about being in a new business partnership with someone, and it didn't quite work out as I thought. And when I put, well, you know, I'm trying to point to the Rolling Stones tongue. I actually got online presenters to sing along with me. I will never forget everyone singing along. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. But if you try real hard, sometimes you'll find
what you need.
You get what you need. And so I found my way here. And I know that even if things are appearing like sometimes they're not going hunky-dory, they're really always going okay. And in a place like this, there is nothing to do but cheer while you are working on a path, because you are in great company. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Elaine. We got what we needed. We enjoyed your presentation. You are engaging and we love your singing. Thank you, Elaine. Our next speaker, she's working on entertaining speaker, the entertaining speech. Our lives take twists and turns. Are you ready for it? Do you cultivate opportunities? Today, one of our charter members will guide us on how to take the unexpected directions that our life may take. Please join me in welcoming Carol Prahinsky. Carol Prahinsky with her entertaining speech, Unexpected Blooms.
Thank you, Asil, Madam Toastmaster. Life does take some twists and turns. Are you ready for it? We say, yeah, we signed up for COVID, didn't we? Well, that's not necessarily a positive one. Maybe we can think of some positive ones and shift and be ready for it. So one day, a year ago, almost a year ago, I said to my husband, let's go to the farmer's market. It was a beautiful Saturday, only a mile away, and I suggested bicycling. He actually said yes. Woohoo! And so we got our bicycles out and off we went down to what I imagined would be the farmer's market in the downtown East Lansing. And when we got there, guess what we saw? Nothing. It was not there. So I suggested instead that we go to Beale Garden, which is part of the Michigan State University campus. So off we went, and it's part of a training and education program. Each of these plants has a label on it. They even include poison oak, poison ivy, and a whole host of other plants that we don't necessarily want to know. But they're teaching us, and that's part of the university motto, right? Education. So we walked through there, and lo and behold, I rounded a corner, and you know what happens when we round corners? Sometimes something unexpected happens, and there it was, a very, very tall plant that was called the Goldner Sears Tower, and I immediately thought of Lou hanging out in Chicago. Hi, Lou. There he was, beautiful, tall, and bright gold. It was over my head. I said, how do I get me one of those? Aren't they gorgeous? And my husband, as he is so wonderfully accommodating, said, absolutely, honey. So he supported me on this idea that at some point we might want to get some of these and put it in our garden. I said, thank you, honey. And we continued on our journey to explore the beautiful gardens. Well, then I had the international convention. I came back from that, and lo and behold, I said, honey, I'm still thinking of those Goldner lilies. How do we get some? And he said, well, I don't know. So I decided to start looking around. I did some online search. Here was the Weigold Nursery, and they had some, but it was 2-hour drive away. Nope, too far. So what about this one? The American Daylily Society. This is a people that really know what they're doing with daylilies. No, they didn't have any to sell. So I contacted MSU and I said, how do I get me some of them? And they said, did you try this? Did you try that? And I said, yes, I already tried. Now, how many of you would continue searching? After all, this is just daylilies for your garden that you already have a lot of flowers. Well, let me tell you this. I'm a great believer in luck. I work very hard for it. I turned the corner and there it was. No, that's not true. I did some more internet searches and I found this place and it was selling this beautiful flower called the Michelle Buyaki, and it was a Goldner lily. So of course I liked it on Facebook and I said, how do I get me some? That place was only an hour and a half drive. Not interested in driving that far for lilies. So I got onto the conversation with the people that run Beal Gardens at MSU. And they told me, turn around and check out that Michelle Buyaki happens to be the daughter of Alfred Goldner, who started these lilies. And they live in Howell. And if I remember correctly, they're selling their property. Oh. So I reached out and found the Buyakis in Howell, Michigan. And one thing led to another. And I said, may I come? And she said, come on down to Howell, Michigan, only 30 minutes away. So I drove over to Howell, Michigan on a beautiful Saturday with my husband and my mother-in-law, planning, because she told us we could, fill up the car with tons of Goldner lilies. She said she had quite a variety. Feel free to lower and throw it into the car. Great. Well, there it was. Beautiful field filled with lilies, dozens and dozens of lilies. All right, hundreds and thousands of lilies. But notice all that grass in there? That wasn't necessarily a positive thing. Look at all that grass. Well, there was the Goldner's Michelle Buyaki, and I fell in love with it. I said, I have to have me some of those. They will look great in my backyard. Michelle said, help yourself. Take all of the lilies that you want. Okay. So we filled up our car. I don't know if you can see the car in the back there, but a little tiny car, along with my mother-in-law, along with my husband and me. All right, we filled it up. Off we go. And oh, before we do, we celebrated Michelle's birthday. Michelle was having her birthday. We said, here's an Italian cake from a baker that is about to go out of business. It was very sad. They were retiring, and I loved that bakery. So we sang, happy birthday to you. And some of you already know what that's like because we sang it right before today's meeting. And guess what? Goldner has a lily called Cake Plate. What do you know? And that's so exciting. So we got some cake plate, and we got some cowboy scarf, and we got the grape juice, and we filled up our wheelbarrows and separated out all the grass. And lo and behold, we still loved each other afterwards. Enough that we installed these lilies all the way through our gardens, front yard, backyard, and side yard. And this is what they look like right after we installed them. And this is what we're hoping for after they start blooming. And this is what they look like right now, today. And bullfighters. And that's the bullfighter lilies right there. So next time you're expecting some blooms, realize that these blooms are unexpected. Be ready and willing to turn the corner and see what's there. It's a lot of work to get all this luck. Join me in being prepared for the unexpected. How do we get there? Being prepared for hard work. Join me.
Thank you so much, Carol. It was blooming. Wonderful presentation. Thank you. So our next session is table topic session. Do we have Christian with us? No, we don't have him. But what I love about our family at online presenters, that everyone can help each other. So I'm so thankful to Chris that she's going to be our table topics master. Can you please welcome her? Thank you.
Of course. Asil and Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, table topics is a really important part of what Toastmasters is all about. It's getting to think on your feet, or in this case, it's getting to think in front of the camera. I think that might be even harder than thinking on your feet. First of all, there are timing requirements. So, Mr. Timer, Toastmaster Graham, will you tell us what the timing requirements are?
Certainly, Madam Topics Master, the timing for this will be 1 to 2 minutes, which is the Toastmaster standard. You will get an indication of green at 1 minute, yellow at 1 minute 30, and red at 2 minutes, at which point you should shut up.
Thank you, Mr. Timer. The topic for today is unforgettable mentors. So that's pretty easy to come up with some topics. Everybody has had some mentors in their life. And actually, I think their best mentors are the people who are with us the longest, our family. So how did your mother mentor you? Joy Knudsen. How did your mother mentor you?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. My mother mentored me in many ways. And actually the most effectful of them was that I ended up doing a lot of things differently than she did. Because she was a typical housewife in the 50s. She got 5 children, one of them died, and then she had to start working in the 60s to make the ends meet in the family. Because after the war, it was a rather horrible situation in Finland, and a lot of people couldn't get any education, so they were working in factories and having low wages. So what I saw growing up was that my mother was working extremely hard. She never had time for herself. She did all the food, she was sewing our clothes, and she never had time to read books or follow what was going on in the society. And her biggest dream for me, I was the oldest daughter, was that I would become a cook. Because she said that people always need to eat, so you will be safe if you become a cook. But I loved books, and I didn't like cooking at all. So I didn't follow that advice. But whatever I did later in my life, I actually chose, my first education was something my parents didn't understand at all what it was. And also later when I moved abroad, they couldn't follow how I was thinking, but they were very supportive anyhow, because they thought that, okay, this special child knows much more than we do, because she has got education and she does her choices and she can manage her life everywhere in the world. So it was a fantastic mentoring, even though it was in fact opposite of the concrete advice I got, but it was the mental support that brought me through. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Joy. And in case you couldn't guess, the next mentor in our lives would be the father. How did your father mentor you? Toastmaster Jim Gould.
Madam Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. My father was Captain Jim, and he would always be my mentor. He was an interesting fellow. He was in the Navy. My parents were both in the Navy when they met. It was a wonderful story. But as I grew older, he always wanted to do something for me. And that was something that he got from his family. He grew up in a large family, and he wanted that the best for me. And that was something that he really strove for. He bought a restaurant, and he decided that that was going to be something that I should do. And I embraced that. And it was wonderful for me because I got to cook food and I got to be very large. It was good. And he was also a yacht captain. Because he was in the Navy, he could do that stuff. And he taught me how to drive boats. So he was a mentor for me in a lot of different ways. He taught me to navigate. He taught me to drive boats. He taught me to cook. Well, maybe that was part my mom too. But he was a mentor for me. I miss him. And back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you. How about some tips on what not to do as a mentor? Are there ways of teaching people that should be avoided? And do you have any examples in your life? Toastmaster Letitia.
Yes, thank you, Table Topic Master. And according to what I heard, that is the qualities that a mentor should not have. Am I correct? Yes. Yes, I would take it in a positive note. Yes, mentors should have qualities and should not have qualities. Yes, if I was if I am a mentor, I always encourage someone to do something better, and the mentor should not discourage. For an example, if somebody says, yes, if now you can see I'm a fast speaker. If my mentor says, yes, you are too fast, if you can't, slow down, please quit the club. No, you can do it. Now, always my mentor, if I'm the mentor, I would have said, yes, you can slow down, you can do it. And you can encourage and put that person to the correct track. So, one thing that a mentor should not do is you should not discourage anyone. The other thing is you have to instill positivity and always inspiration into someone. That means your ability, your skill, your talent. If you can do it, that means you have won the day. And the next quality, if someone doesn't acknowledge the time, so and at that time you can say, no, you can do it. If you are prepared, if your speech is for 5 minutes, get ready for at least 4 minutes. Then you will at least stop somewhere around 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So that type of encouraging and tactful points you can give without discouraging, without saying, no, you don't know how to speak within your time. You don't know how to acknowledge. You don't know your ethics. No, you know. You have to brush up only. So things like that, inspirational words, you have to use without using discouraging words. And yes, thank you. Over to you, Table Topic Master.
Thank you. Now, some of us really like mentoring, teaching other people, and some of us would rather just stay to ourselves. Which one are you, Toastmaster Andy Byrne?
Okay. I am a mentor that enjoys teaching, and my only negative in the mentoring process is when you have too much knowledge about a particular topic. When you start teaching, it's sometimes like opening up a fire hose when someone is not ready to receive a fire hose level of information at one time. So a mentor needs to be able to gauge how much information the student would like to absorb, needs to absorb, and would benefit from. And to learn how to provide that information at a slower pace or in a way that the student can absorb is what characterizes some of the best teachers that we have out there. during this time when we got to see how teachers are teaching for those that are living at home, I think that we could really appreciate how some teachers are able to bring the teaching lessons into the home for different levels of students. So one of the things that I enjoy being a mentor is exploring different areas for myself and for the students. Thank you very much, Toastmaster.
And thank you, Toastmaster Byrne. And I think I have time for one more.
Actually, you have time, like 10 more minutes.
Okay, well, isn't there a new member speech?
No, she's not speaking today.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Our best mentor, the one who is with us all the time, is ourselves. So do you have some techniques for mentoring yourself? Do you have a song or a mantra that gets you through the day and gets you to raise to the next level? Toastmaster Andrei Smolenko.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. And it's an excellent question. But before I answer that question, I want to talk about my glasses. Sorry, I've been holding them all this evening, hoping that I can take them off finally. The weather been brilliant in Manchester, and then I just put them on, forget it, got a bit sunburned, but now I'm with you. And getting back to the question, Madam Toastmaster, about having something within me that I would change or perhaps get rid of. Well, yes. And the song, Калинка, калинка, калинка моя, в саду ягода, калинка, калинка моя. You can sing along with me. I'm sure everybody knows the words. Калинка, калинка, калинка моя, в саду ягода, малинка, малинка моя. Excellent. So that would be one of the songs that would probably take me through, and I just need to keep on reminding myself, having a bit of play and having a bit of laugh. At the same time, they're much more appropriate for my darker side song. It could be Rammstein with a bit of heavy metal into it. And then my mood change. I can go with the violin. And when I go with violin, my couple kids just don't believe it. Say, Dad, look, no, that's not you. Number of songs that would probably get me through in terms of being mentor to myself. Well, yes, pick any of those, or at least one that I sang. And again, Калинка, калинка, калинка моя, в саду ягода, малинка, малинка моя. Madam Table Topics Master.
Oh, you'll have to teach us all that song one of these days here. Thank you. How about a time in life that you needed a mentor and nobody showed up? Sir, can you think of a time when you wished you had a mentor? Toastmaster Carl Walsh.
There have been several times where you're looking for that answer, that person that can get you through tough times that you're going through. I could say that there was a period where I was transitioning from being an actor and a director on stage into the business world. Now, I was doing this because I found that I really loved business, much to my horror, but I did love it and wanted to take part in it, but I felt like I was abandoning all my training and all my life up to that point. And it led me to several crises of identity. Who was I and what was I doing? And it took me down some paths that were not wise at the time. And it would have been really nice if I had had somebody who had been through a similar experience, who was doing a transition in life. And I was in my 30s. I had a lot of experience on the stage, but not in the real world. And the real world has a lot of ways to trip you up. And I was finding most of them along the way. And it just would have been really nice to have somebody to help me. I survived and I thrived. I did well, but I certainly have experience that I can share with other people now to help them avoid the traps. Madam Table Topics Master.
And just one more then. Speaking of traps, what traps do you advise people who you mentor to avoid when it comes to public speaking? And I'm going to call on a guest because since he's a 3-time DTM, I think he's probably okay with this. And that would be Toastmaster Kevin Desrosiers.
Madam Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. When I am mentoring somebody, and I have several people I mentor in public speaking, the first thing I tell them is don't worry if you mess up. We all mess up. Every time after I sit down from a speech, I say, dang it, Kevin, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you say it this way? And we all make mistakes. There is no such thing as a perfect speech. I don't care what Darren LaCroix tells you, or Craig Valentine, there is not a perfect speech. We are human and we do something that we know we can do a little bit better. So I tell them, don't worry. When you sit down, you're just like me. You've made a mistake and we will help you with that. We'll let you know, we'll give you advice. That's how you learn. You make mistakes. You don't get better by doing things right the first time. You get better by making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. And that's what Toastmasters is about. That's why you have evaluators in Toastmaster. That's why you have mentors. They help you. They tell you what it's about. They tell you how to get better, and they nudge you a little bit. So if I'm going to tell a Toastmaster anything, and I've told many this, don't worry if you mess up. Don't be afraid to get up there because you think you might mess up, because you will, and that's just part of growing. Get up there and grow, and the next time you'll be even better. Madam Topics Master.
Madam Toastmaster, do you want me to do one more or is that enough?
Yeah, you can do one more.
One more. Okay. How about a coworker? On the job is definitely a place where we need some mentoring, especially if you're a new employee. Toastmaster Marty Sandler, have you had a coworker who mentored you or who you mentored, either way?
Well, Madam Table Topics Master, can you all hear me? I'll bet you can. Yes, I was very lucky. I've had several mentors in my life. Possibly the best was one who was actually my supervisor in the years when I was trying to transition from being a scientific worker to, well, I wouldn't call it sales exactly, but trying to learn how to help other people find the path rather than just walking down the path myself. So what I learned was that you have to keep learning. And as the last speaker said, if you mess up, you mess up. It's okay. What I found actually went a little bit further. It was that if you mess up, not only do you learn from it, but you can help other people learn from it. I have learned a great deal from what other people did that they wish they had done differently. Well, what I learned in that frame, so to speak, is that, as you say, no one's perfect, but I can learn new techniques, little tricks, little things that let me do whatever I'm trying to do a little bit better, just a little, but a little bit with a little bit of luck, with a little bit of luck. Well, sorry, I never could sing very well, and luck was only part of the story, but it definitely was part of my learning. So thank you, and back to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sandler. I call on our timer to tell us how our Table Topics speakers did.
Thank you, Madam Topics Master. All of our speakers fell within their allocated time, just. Joy, 225, Jim G, 150, Letitia, 207, Andy, 122, Andre, 124, Carl, 206, Kevin D, 126, and Marty, 208. The times are all in the chat box.
Okay, so based on the names that Graham has put in our chat box, please vote for your favorite table topic speaker. Send that vote in a private chat to our vote counter, Birgit. And back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Chris. It was an impromptu session for her to come up with questions, and Chris handled very well in a gracious manner. Thank you so much, Chris. So now we are moving to evaluation portion, and this portion will be led by our Toastmaster, Patricia O'Reilly. She will be introducing evaluators and asking for reports from our helpers. Please help me welcome our General Evaluator, Patricia O'Reilly.
Thank you very much, Asil, for that lovely introduction. And fellow Toastmasters, so my role as the General Evaluator is to evaluate the meeting from beginning to end, but I pay special attention to the evaluators, and then I will call on the reports. I'm going to start the evaluator section of the meeting, and just to explain why we do evaluations for the guests. So evaluations is feedback for each speaker. It's a way of giving value to the speaker and show how they have maybe improved since their previous speech. It's positive, it's encouraging, and perhaps in the middle of all that, there would be some suggestion as to how that person might improve their speech or improve delivering a speech for the next time. But also evaluations are very valuable for the evaluators. It is a great skill in how to listen, how to be concise in delivering that evaluation, and it's just a wonderful analytical skill to have to be a good evaluator. And I know that online presenters have some great evaluators, and I'm sure we're going to hear two of them tonight. So to evaluate Elaine Nieberding's speech, can we please welcome, I think I'd better give him his three names, Brian David Crawford.
Thank you very much. Fellow Toastmasters, but specifically Elaine, I had the great honor of evaluating Elaine's speech tonight, and I do have to say I was very ecstatic to see this speech. One of the reasons why is because this speech really is what I would hope when I see someone complete a particular path. This was a victory lap. Elaine completed the path, and she came to celebrate. She started early by singing her name, Nieberding, and she finished it strong by singing You Can't Always Get What You Want, even if that meant she disqualified herself from having the Best Speaker Award today. But the most important thing about that excitement that she brought to the particular speech was it made me want to complete a path, right? If someone completes a path and they're like, yeah, I completed a path, I'm done, I don't have to do this anymore, would anyone want to actually do a path? Her completing it made me say, damn, I want that for myself. And I think every single person who is in this speech who heard it today is going to have that same reaction. If there was an opportunity of improvement, it's a very small, tiny, tiny improvement. And that is red is a very harsh color for a background. It's very strong, and particularly your particular shade of red that you were using as backslide just made me go, ooh. I think if you think about what colors you want behind you want something that's going to complement your skin tone, going to complement your outfit, and going to complement the whole picture. And it's going to want to make someone say, I want to listen to this. Your red was, stop, don't pay attention to me, red. Urgh. It was right in my face, it grabbed me, and it just made me not want to look at the screen as much. It might just because I don't like the color red, but I think that there are shades of red that wouldn't be as strong and as aggressive for people to see in their screens. I think the thing that is most important about this speech is you talked about what is next. Your next path is going to be visionary leadership, which is a very strong thing to do, particularly because you talked about what you learned the most from your path was it helped you become the best reunion coordinator that you could be. So naturally, you want to continue on with this leadership concept. And I think that you told us that you wanted to do this. But the thing that you were missing was your why. Why do you want to do visionary leadership? Where do you hope to grow? What do you hope to accomplish next because of Toastmasters? I love the speech. I can't wait to finish a pass so I can have this exact same moment you got tonight. And I look forward to hearing your next speech. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Brian David Crawford. That was a good evaluation, a very, very good evaluation. Elaine was very pleased. It was positive, it was encouraging. And I think I would agree with you that the red can be a little harsh. But I also think, though, that the red suits Elaine's coloring. So moving on to our second evaluator tonight. To evaluate Kara Prahinsky's speech, can I please call on Rick Durling?
Good evening, fellow online presenters and welcome guests, and especially Carol. I really am very pleased to be given the opportunity to evaluate your speech. I have to tell you, your enthusiasm about the topic and the way you present yourself is excellent. I enjoyed every aspect of the speech from that standpoint. You have a strong voice, very strong voice, and you use it well. One thing I want to compliment you on in particular is one of my favorite things to see in a speech, particularly when it comes to telling a story and or something that has to do with humor, doesn't matter, is words. Words, as we all know, are enormously effective. And you used a lot of very strong words like beautiful and bright and exciting. And I didn't write down all of the words that you used, but you used them. And I encourage you to continue to reach out and use those kinds of words if you aren't already doing that on purpose, because those words bring the story to life. Now I'm going to offer a couple of things in the technology area and one in the organization area that I would like to just offer up as possible ways to take the speech in another direction. First, from this technology standpoint, your gestures were limited because you were a little bit close to your screen. You might want to consider moving back just a little bit so that we can see your hands. They really bring parts of that story, and I could see you doing that, but I really couldn't see the finish. So you want to reach out to the audience, make it possible for us to see those gestures, because it will take us in a really great direction when you add those in. Another consideration is I could hear you advancing the slide, and it was quite loud, quite frankly, and just a little bit distracting. So if you have a remote clicker, using a remote clicker will really make that a whole lot better. If not, you might want to consider, investing in one of those, but I suspect in your role, you have one of those. Make use of it because it will take that particular distraction out of the picture. One area that I feel compelled to talk about a little bit is the organization. Definitely a timeline, definitely humorous, definitely a journey. But sometimes you felt like you were in a hurry. Slow it down a little bit, maybe leave a couple of points out, give the audience some time to absorb the story and stay with you, because this was a good story. You told it extremely well. Summarizing, enthusiasm, check. You've absolutely got that in spades. Your voice, strong. Words, well chosen. And a couple of things that you can consider to take your speech in another direction. I'm looking forward to hearing more speeches from you. Thank you very much for your speech tonight.
Thank you very much, Rick. Again, another excellent evaluation. Beautiful things. You said some lovely things about the speech. And I think that the tips that you gave in relation to the slides and in relation to staying a little bit back from the camera, I think that was very useful for all of those of us who are now living in Zoom land permanently, almost 24/7 it seems. So moving on, I would like to ask Graham if you could give me the times for the evaluators, please.
Certainly, Madam General Evaluator. The first evaluation from BDC was 2:45 and Rick's was 3:03, so both are within time.
Thank you, Graham. And next, can I ask people to vote for the best evaluator? So it's for Brian David Crawford or Rick Durling. And can you send a private message to our vote counter, Birgit? I'm now going to start calling for the reports. And the first report I'm going to call on in no particular order is the watcher. And our watcher tonight was
Antoinette.
Antoinette. I'm sorry, I'm just not familiar with the names yet. Antoinette, go ahead.
No problem. Good evening once more to my fellow Toastmasters. And I am proud to be the watcher tonight. We all more or less fit fairly well in our squares that Zoom has provided for us. I specifically liked Joy's square in the contrast with the black and orange. It was very unique to me. I also liked Anna's square where she had a somewhat flowered background. And I'm attracted to flowers. At least most females are attracted to flowers. So I really loved Anna's background with that. However, Cynthia's square, she had maybe too much space between the top of the head and the top of the square. So maybe next time she comes back or next time she visits us, she should maybe, should I say, she should maybe have, you know, put a cushion or something like that so that she could give herself more increase in height. We are a professional club and all of us more or less had professional backgrounds. Back to you, Patricia.
Thank you very much, Antoinette. Next, I'm going to call on our chat monitor. So please, can we have Jim Barber? Thank you.
With pleasure, Madam General Evaluator. Our chat was reasonably quiet tonight. There were a number of comments about Elaine's singing and also about Carol's lilies, but nothing of great significance. So instead, I'm going to go back to the debate that we've had a few times about whether or not chatting while people are speaking is rude or an acceptable thing. And being chat monitored tonight, I've come to my conclusion. It depends on what you are saying. If your chat indicates that you're not paying attention, you're off on a different tangent, then I think that is rude. However, if you take a look at our chat box tonight, all of the comments were supportive of what the people were saying. It was almost a sort of dialogue with everybody. And so that was not, I don't think that was rude. I think that was actually a supportive part of the speaking process. So that's just my particular opinion. I want to remind everybody you can make a copy of the chat if you want to see it, you want to hang on to it for later, simply go to the bottom of the chat box and save chat. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Jim. And I have to say that I was watching the chat tonight and I completely agree with you. I think it is rude for people to comment on the chat while somebody is speaking. But I think if they're going to comment on the speaker, that's probably acceptable. Thank you, Jim. So moving on, I'm going to call on our grammarian for the report, and that's Tiger McCandy, please.
Thank you very much, Ms. General Evaluator. We had some excellent language tonight. Elaine started us off before the meeting with the word besiege. I love that word. And blah, blah, blah. So that's probably what you're going to hear the next couple minutes is blah, blah, blah. I hope my positivity will rub off. Well, it certainly rubbed off on me. Carol, I love this thing. She said, we continue on our journey to explore these beautiful gardens. Very simple, very descriptive. Carol said, how do I get me some of these? Or how do I get me some of them? I don't know, Lou. I don't think that's quite proper English. But the way she says it, it came off really well. But anyway, moving on. Chris, I like when she said, first of all, we have timing requirements. And then she passed it on to Graham. Jim, he's an interesting fellow. Andy, opening up a fire hose. My dad used to always say that. I never quite knew what it means. Now I know what it means. You should shut up from our timer. And it looks like he's already shown me the red. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and shut up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tiger, for that. Next up, I'm going to call on our R counter, and our R counter tonight is Roxanne. So Roxanne, can you give us your report, please?
Yes, I can. The magic words for us tonight are well, so, and. Pretty much we're contained with everything else. We had 2 double starts and 2 ums, but well, so, and are our Achilles heel, used by Carol, Marty, and Patricia for so and well. Apart from that, we're clean. We can see the advance in our advance club.
Thank you very much, Roxanne. And oh dear, I thought the general evaluator was immune from having anything marked against them when it came to the R counter role.
Oh, then I'll sign up next week.
And I'll be R counter and I'll get my own back. Okay, so next up, I'm just going to, our vote counter. So Birgit, are you ready to give us the votes for the best speaker and evaluator on topics? Person?
I am ready, and now I know it's great to see that pretty much most people voted. So I was pretty busy on chat. I would have to say that the results are very close. The best table topic speaker is Kevin D. And Brian, aka BDC, is the best evaluator. For best speaker, I guess Carol by default, since Elaine went over time. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Birgit. And congratulations to all of the winners. And it just remains for me to thank our timer for a great job. I mean, you're so good at double jobbing, because you're doing the timer, then you're putting it up in the chat where all the times are, especially of the topics speakers. So great job. And I would like to say a special thank you to Chris for stepping in and doing topics. Not an easy thing to do, to think of those topics off the top of your head. I think you did a great job, and thank you very much for that, because you did have to go for longer than you were expecting. And finally, I would like to say a big thank you to Asil as Toastmaster. I know from the emails that I was receiving the last few days that she was very, very busy organizing the evening and organizing the agenda. And I think she did a great job. And thank you very much, Asil. And I think overall, I thoroughly enjoyed the meeting. I loved the singing. Just don't ever ask me to do it, but I did love the singing. And I think it's a great addition. Well, if I was to sing, you might actually just suddenly find all of the cameras being turned off and people disappearing to make a cup of coffee. So on that note, I'm going to hand back to our Toastmaster, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Patricia. You are a great general evaluator. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining this meeting. You are all my mentors, and I'm learning from you a lot. So on this note, I'm going to call our officers. Lou, are you there?
I'll be glad to step on up, because I'd like to make a couple of announcements. First off, next Monday, June the 1st, will be a special workshop evening by Roger Corville. It will be all about effective engagement in online presentations. So don't miss it. Please, if you're a guest and want to attend, RSVP again on our welcome page. The other thing I want to mention is that the start of July will be the beginning of a new Toastmaster Executive Board cycle. And so in the coming weeks in June, I hope each and every one of you will take extra measure to enjoy and appreciate Lois Margolin, our president, David Carr, who will be continuing as treasurer, Lou Brown, Sergeant at Arms, who is moving on over to Vice President of Membership, and Secretary Monica, I'm forgetting her last name, excuse me, Jacinta Watkins, our VP of Public Relations, and John Quick, our VP of Education. In one more minute, we'll be shutting down this recording, and all of our guests are welcome to stay afterwards. We would love to get your feedback on the meeting and also have a little bit more conversation. Thank you everyone for attending. Lou, do you have any other announcements to make or things that I may have forgotten?
No, no other announcements from me. Thank you. Very thorough, Elaine. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Keep singing. I didn't know what I'd get started here.